We're proud of who we are. There's a duty to tonight. There's a crossing down today. Everyone was away. We're proud of who we are. So cool, but they don't get me that cool. Them two jam that don't give us a good that don't stop. Martin is from the ring. Make a answer my phone call. But you know the good ones, so they say they don't know. Then when they say you do not know the I do you go talk, you go know. That was so sweet, easy and unique. Everywhere we go, we unite it. Everybody feeling delighted. Each time I'm talking my dialect, and they make them feel so excited. Anytime they feel legit. Dancing, my family, and I will like walk. Everyone was away. We're proud of who we are. There's a duty to tonight. There's a dance. Everyone was away. We're proud of who we are. There's a duty to tonight. There's a crossing down today. Everyone was away. We're proud of who we are. So cool, but they don't get me that cool. Them two jam that don't give us a good that don't stop. Martin is from the ring. Make a answer my phone call. But you know the good ones, so they say they don't know. Then when they say you do not know the I do you go talk, you go know. That was so sweet, easy and unique. Everywhere we go, we unite it. Everybody feeling delighted. Each time I'm talking my dialect, and they make them feel so excited. Anytime they feel legit. Dancing, my family, and I will like walk. Everyone was away. We're proud of who we are. There's a duty to tonight. There's a dance.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you, Mr. Tani, Bestos Fongo, Cornell Irene, Gillian. Thank you, Afua. Thank you, Honorine. Thank you, Emmy, Mabesen, Shah, Helene Po. Thank you guys so much for joining. Thank you again for being on time. Welcome to episode 3. Again, I'll take a minute to continue sharing on the different platforms. So if you can please kindly share on your pages so we can get more people to join us. Our guest is backstage and then we will start shortly. So in a minute, we'll start. So please share. Thank you. And I'll leave you with our guest dancing to witty minstrels. Be proud of who you are. Thank you. See you shortly.
Everyone was away. We're proud of who we are. There's a duty to tonight. There's a crossing down today. Everyone was away. We're proud of who we are. So cool, but they don't get me that cool. Them two jam that don't give us a good that don't stop. Martin is from the ring. Make a answer my phone call. But you know the good ones, so they say they don't know. Then when they say you do not know the I do you go talk, you go know. That was so sweet, easy and unique. Everywhere we go, we unite it. Everybody feeling delighted. Each time I'm talking my dialect, and they make them feel so excited. Anytime they feel legit. Dancing, my family, and I will like walk. Everyone was away. We're proud of who we are. There's a duty to tonight. There's a dance.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Gaby. Hi, Elvis. Uncle Sandy. Hi, Efwa. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode 3 of the mental health series we've been doing. This is if you're watching us for the first time in a while, we have been doing a mental health series talking about mental health within the Cameroonian community, and we are on episode 3. Our first guest was Mr. Tani, who was a cognitive psychologist who thrilled us, who educated us, and who really opened a new world of mental health to us, and we're so grateful for that. And we learned so much. I'm sure all of you can testify to that. Our second guest was Mr. Ndoko Sankara, aka Syrian Nambangi, whose conversation, who calls himself the traditionalist, and whose conversations were thought-provoking. And I think that we touched some nerves, but I'm glad that we did that in love and all of that. So I thank you. And tonight our guest obviously is another psychotherapist, and we'll be talking the health, how to maintain a healthy mental health. But for those who are new to our show, if you've never been, this is the Woman Experience, and I'm so excited that you're here to spend your Wednesday evening with us. What we do here every Wednesdays and Friday evenings is we're trying to create a community, which I think we have succeeded actually in creating a judgment-free community, a community of knowledge sharing through each other's experiences. That's all we do. I'm your host. My main guest is the first guest, and you watching on your mobile phone, your laptop, TV, you're our third guest, and we need your voice to be heard. It's a very interactive platform. Whatever suggestions you have, whatever questions you have, whatever, if you have the answer to anybody's question in the comments, or if you have the answers to anybody's worries in the comments or experiences in the comments, just help the person out by sharing, by answering to that. So we're all here again, the Woman Experience, to learn through our shared experiences. So thank you, and I'm going to go straight into it. Our guest for tonight is Marie Abanga. She's from Cameroon. She's the founder of the Association Hope for the Battered and Abused and Battered, which is in Douala, and she's also the country executive for Global Mental Health Peer Network and the African regional representative as well. She's a person with a lived experience. She has lived. She's currently lives with post-traumatic stress disorder, and that's why she's really pushing hard through her advocacy to make mental health matter in a country where, you know what Cameroon is now, it is taboo to talk about mental health, let alone mental illness. She has known the depths of depression after losing her only daughter in 2018 and shutting down emotionally for 6 months with barely any support. We know our country. In February of 2009, while 5 months pregnant for her last son, she attempted suicide, fed up with what had become of her life. A decade later, she has rebounded to become a psychotherapist and a staunch mental health advocate. So, I mean, let's give a clap for Miss Marie Abanga. She's a staunch mental health advocate, and I think, in my opinion, one of the finest voices currently in our country, using her own lived experience in all she does to raise awareness. She's written 7 books. I actually have 2 of them here. I have Battered, Tattered, but Not Shattered by Marie Abanga, Finding the Strength in What Remains. And I have My Unconditional Loves, My Hurts, My Adulteries, My Redemptions. So she's an author as well, very brilliant author. Her stories will resonate with so many of us who have experienced some form of mental health illness, or who are struggling to identify what it is going on within us. She's written 7 books. I only have 2. She's organized several trainings. She's done hundreds of live and other videos for a lot of you who know her on Facebook. She's been on both print, visual media. She's determined to stop. Nothing will stop this girl. Nothing will stop her from promoting mental health awareness and sensitization and advocacy. And for that, we say thank you, Marie. She's also a lawyer. I mean, this woman wears so many hats. She's a single parent to 3 boys. She's raising some future young girls' husbands. 3 boys aged 16, 14, and 10. And she has an adopted daughter of 16. Guys, please, what an honor to have. She prefers to be called Mag on the show. Hello.
Hello.
Mag is joining us from Douala. And you guys, so we're going to prayer warriors. We got to pray so that internet be able to
No, look,
tonight.
Manchester has also had bad network. Someone in the US had bad network. Someone in Lagos had bad network. So it's not our reputation. I reject.
That's Mag for you right there. No holds barred. She says it as it is. I'm so honored, honestly, my dear, to have you on the show. I appreciate you. I appreciate all the work you do. You know, I follow you on social media, and you're doing amazing. Really, you are. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. I mean, we know each other since childhood now, so it's not social media and all of this. We come from very far, each of us, and we've been there for each other several times in different ways. And I remember when I got to London once and I got missing, and I had to take a cab. That was the first time I was taking that London famous cab. And you stood out there at some ungodly hour waiting for me, and I was like, and I think you were even pregnant. And I was like, what have I done to somebody's wife like this? That was the first time. Another time was when you allowed me to sleep on the top of the bunker, in your kids' room. That was so warm to me. I just remembered boarding school life, and so we appreciate each other a lot.
Honestly, we are sisters. For those who don't know, we are actually sisters. So it's great that you can come on the show and forget that you're a sister, but bring the professional side of it to share. And so we're so grateful. So we're gonna just go straight into it, Matt. Yeah. Tonight we're talking about how to maintain our mental health and to recognize a lot of the things. And so for all of you, for all of you who are living in the comments, Quinta says you're the voice of the voiceless. I love that. And Auntie Bibi says she's a great woman. She really is. So thank you. Bimoma says my respect to her strength. A very strong woman. And I love that she's using her lived experiences to create awareness and to help others, which is exactly the premise of our show. So thank you for that. We're going to go straight to it, sister. You have watched the show. Obviously, you watched It's a Tiny Show. You watched Cyril's show. What did you take from those two shows?
Wow. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for the introduction. Let me just say that I wore this to kind of feel like a celebrity. Those big Nigerian stars or other stars, they cover their eyes. And also to say mental health, sometimes you can see somebody covering their eyes, you don't know what they're covering, but I'm going to take it off now. And it's also kind of cool, right? It's my mom who gave it to me. So I take it off. This is Mark. Okay, so what did I get from those shows? First of all, my respect to those two guests. It wasn't easy. I mean, the first one for me, he put it up scientifically, but also a kind of easy to understand way. And I was just like, thank you so much, colleagues. I don't even have to go the scientific way anymore today. And then Sankara, I'm not even going to call. I mean, when somebody wants to be called by some name, call them by that name. How many celebrities, how many people out there do you know their real names? We just like to cling on to Mr. Mrs. Don't call me Mrs. again. Call me Mark, please. Okay, or even call me Ayo. I don't care. That's okay. So from the second show, it was really like going down history lane to see where some third parties could have come from, and which we subconsciously cling to or keep reinforcing in one way or the other, and which causes those conflicts in our minds, and we keep living with them, and including our everyday experiences, they can really affect our mental health, as it is known. So I found it very interesting, and I also found some small blaming, trying to pull the blanket left and right, also very interesting. And I was like, well, I'm just going to keep it real. So that's it for me.
Okay, great. I'm going to throw this to the audience as well. For those of you who watched the first series with Mr. Tiny and Mr. Ndoko Sankara, since we have to call him that, what did you take from the show? You can share so that those who didn't watch it would also learn. So we've been talking mental health, and the angle I want to talk about mental health with you today as a psychotherapist is I want you I want to give you a scenario. I mean, our examples that we've been using is the couple in America. The murder and suicide that happened there. We are going to continue using that couple as an example. But what I wanted to ask from you is, obviously, those people were in love at some point in their lives. When you are in love, how can you identify some of the signs of mental health? So how can you identify the signs of mental health in your partner? So if you love somebody's courting you, or maybe you miss the signs when you were dating, and then now you're married and you're together, what are some of the things that you can begin to recognize that, okay, this behavior is probably not normal or not, or it is?
You know, mental health is a state of well-being. So when you see somebody, somebody is not struggling to please you, somebody is not going out of their way to just be nice. You know, when we say somebody is nice, somebody is not faking it, somebody is not pretending, that is it. But if you're with somebody and everything they're doing, they're trying to force it, and then maybe they're trying to get to control you, you know, to manipulate you, to I don't know, to put up a face which is not really them. Sometimes, let me use an example. I'm a woman, right? And I'm with a man, and one day I come to his house unannounced, and the house is upside down. You know, but other times when I say I'm coming, he takes his time to arrange his house. And I come like 2 or 3 times unannounced, and the house is upside down. What does that tell you? This is a disorganized man. He will only organize when he's trying to put up an impression, you know. So if you get married to such a man and you start seeing socks lying all over the place, well, that is the man. And you should start paying attention, because when he starts treating his own things like that, very soon, even you, he's going to treat you just anyhow. He doesn't really know how to take care of things. That's just an example. And sometimes we overlook them, especially when we are dating, because we are like, when we get together, I mean, things will work themselves out. So we don't want to bring up those things because we don't want us trouble. We don't want to lose this relationship. It goes both ways, but I'll talk more from the woman's point of view. You don't notice. If you are dating, for example, and the man sometimes he sleeps, he snores. Snoring is a problem sometimes, especially when it is too much. I mean, it affects your sleep. It affects even your relationship with yourself and with other people. Or he sleeps for barely 4 hours, or he sleeps and gets up, sleeps and gets up. Those are signs, but sometimes we choose to ignore them because we don't want us trouble. Even in your own self, those are signs. Yeah.
Those are signs that something's not that. Those are signs that what that this man may be troubled mentally, or this man may be
that he's struggling. That he is struggling. Those are signs that this person may be struggling with something and needs some attention.
Okay.
Look, if somebody cannot talk to you with a normal voice, he has to raise the voice to talk to you. For me, that's a sign. I don't raise my voice to talk to my kids. I don't see how I'm even going to raise my voice to talk to an adult. I've learned so much in life, and I don't see why I would tolerate somebody to raise their voice to talk to me. Because if you talk to me like this, I would understand, and I would even comply. I would even cooperate better than if you raise your voice. So if somebody starts raising their voice, I will know, oh, this is something. That's a sign of anger management, for example. And if you ignore it, who knows what will happen tomorrow? They blow up.
Okay, I'm going to stay on that point, even though I know that I shouldn't. But you know, sometimes when you're passionate about something, right, you raise your voice when you talk. So what's the difference then now between passion? How can you identify passion from anger?
Well, you're raising the voice with passion. Bitterness does not come out.
Okay.
You are passionate about it. But if you are raising your voice to humiliate, to intimidate, to manipulate, to control, bitterness definitely comes out. Because the intention is to make the other person feel defeated, feel less than, feel crushed and everything. So those are two different things.
Okay, great. So how would you say this? Let's look, we're talking about how to recognize signs of somebody who may identify the signs from the beginning. How do we identify the signs of a strong person? So, like, we're still at the dating phase here. We are dating, and how can I tell that you are a strong-willed person or you're a weak person?
Well, for example, a mentally strong person says no and means no. You don't say no and then you keep coming back. For example, if you live an abusive relationship, you go and you go. If you change numbers, don't change the number back again. If you block somebody, don't unblock that person. If you know that you need help, then you seek help. That's a strong person. A weak person is not even going to admit that they're struggling and that they need help. For example, a strong person is somebody who goes after their self-care, who knows that it is important to do so, and so who even kind of educates themselves, you know, who kind of stays informed. Look, I live with post-traumatic stress disorder. I know what it is. Before this show, I slept for like 45 minutes. I needed to sleep because normally my bedtime is 9 p.m. and I know I'm not going to be sleeping to that 9 p.m. That's what I do. So I sleep, I kind of like talk to my brain, and I'm like, okay, this is what we are going to do. But you know, a weak person is not going to do this. So those are some of the things for me, like, you know who you are. A lot of people talked about knowing who you are, your identity. It doesn't need to be in compliance with any society, any code of conduct, and all of those things. Just be good in your element. Be true to your word. Let your word be your word. You know, and stop judging. Stop making assumptions. Stop drawing conclusions. Stop getting into battles. For me, that's a mentally strong person. Yeah.
Okay. So, I've been hearing this word a lot lately. I don't know about you guys, but I've been hearing this word a lot lately, emotional intelligence. Of course, I know what emotional intelligence is. How, for married couples now who are probably trying to figure out what's happening with their spouse or not, what is emotional intelligence, and how is it beneficial to really remain in that space and understand it?
Well, emotional intelligence, using the ordinary language, not necessarily the scientific language, it's just being in tune with your emotions and knowing how to identify them in yourself and, well, in your partner, since we are really talking about, you know, partners where things usually go wrong and stuff like that. And being able to now identify any challenges, the earlier the better, and working on them. You know, there's several emotions, you know, angry, amazed, anxious, ashamed, bitter, bored. I think it's Mr. Tani, you talked about some of those emotions with him. I love the way he was making it like he was giving you people homework and you were doing the homework. Yeah, but those are those emotions. Being intelligent simply means being able to identify the emotion you are feeling at that particular moment, and, well, being able to communicate that emotion and being able to manage whatever conflict may come up as a result of all of that. It's just like IQ, right? In school, somebody is intelligent when they can pass an exam, they can understand the question, they can give the right answer. Yeah.
Okay, guys, I want to read some comments. Quinta is saying, identifying and acknowledging mental health issues in our milieu is not an easy thing. It really isn't. Do you think the frequency and intensity, Bimoma is asking you, Mag, do you think the frequency and intensity of behaviors matter? Can people not raise their voices out of frustration sometimes?
Of course, people can raise their voices out of frustration, and that's a sign, right? Somebody is frustrated. Is that a healthy thing? Is that not a sign for concern? If you really care about the person, wouldn't you want to help them? I do raise my voice sometimes. I don't mean I never raise my voice. I do. But sometimes, if I do it a lot, I check myself. And sometimes I just do something else instead of raising my voice. I lock myself up in my room, time out. I put on music. I start dancing. So that is like when you have come to learn. And then the frequency is going to reduce. And if you are with a partner who can identify that raising your voice is actually a sign of cry for help, they're not going to raise their voice back at you, because sometimes problems really aggravate when you raise your voice and the other person is raising their voice. Have you ever found yourself in that situation?
Yeah,
it's like a fight. Who is going to help who? Who is going to listen to who? And then it starts to add up experience after the other. But if somebody raises their voice and you can stay quiet, you know, to let them calm down. If you're raising your voice and nobody is talking back, are you not going to calm down?
You will.
Yeah.
Thank you. A lot of people are just joining. Hi, guys. Welcome to the show. We are on episode 3 of the mental health series. And we're talking to psychotherapist and lawyer and mental health advocate, Mag. And in this session, I'm just trying to, what we are trying to do is identify, again, we're going to focus on tips on how to maintain a good mental health. And so that's our conversation so far. Marie, be saying thanks. I think she liked the explanation that you gave. So that's the conversation that we are still just getting into it. So it's gonna get there. So stay with us, Marie. So you see, mental health, right?
Mm-hmm.
We know in our community, both at home and abroad, it is still an issue. You have taught us how to be able to identify the little things that you missed. So maybe some of us are going back now to the days of when we were dating and probably looking at our partners and thinking, the way he behaves, sleep pattern, is still sleeping well, and that we have identified it. What are some of the coping mechanisms? If you don't want to go down the route of counseling, I know we've talked a lot about talking to people about it, but what in your opinion, what are some other coping mechanisms that we can use if we begin to notice these things in us, apart from talking to somebody else? What else could we do?
I'm a great advocate for self-care. I think that we know ourselves better than anybody. I think that we have to love ourselves better than anybody. I think that we can show ourselves compassion better than anybody. I think you can actually tell the counselor, therapist, whoever, what is going on in your mind better than any other person can. So you should be able, especially when we are well, because when I work with people, for example, I was working with some lady the other day and I came up with an action plan. She's not very sick. Well, she's depressed, but she's not comatose, or she's not so depressed. She's not much suicidal and everything. And so we came up with an action plan. For example, number 1, getting out of bed. Number 2, cooking. Cooking, for example, we said once a week. I called her yesterday. She had cooked last week, but this week she didn't feel like cooking. Number 3, eating. Those are some people, and this is not a small woman. This is kind of a woman in her late 40s. Okay, well, so you see, I'm trying to get her to develop interest again in some tools that can help her cope with her depression, because she's been for so long without talking to somebody, a professional, and to get back to that stage where she can trust somebody to talk to that person and do what the person is telling her or work with that person. She has to first of all find some joy and some kind of confidence in herself. Encouraging her to do the most basic thing she cannot do again is that. But now when you are well, like myself right now, I live with post-traumatic stress disorder, but this is me. I'm doing all the things I'm doing. What I do to cope, you have seen me dance. I dance at home, I dance in the office, I do sports. I'm a fanatic, 10 years now. I skip rope. You have seen me skip rope. I think you are going to play that sometime.
That's the dancing.
That's me dancing. That was at a walk we organized against rape, and I don't have no problem. I'm a no complex woman. I skip rope with my crops. I don't have no problem with that.
So you're encouraging her to find interest in the things that she used to love.
Yes, and also in the things that can help you. Sports, it is proven, it's not for physical wellness only, mental wellness. See the way I'm sometimes happy when I work out. I'm always happy anyway. When I start, sometimes I don't really want to, I don't feel like, but I do it, and by the end of it, I'm so happy. See me the way I am happy when I'm dancing. Like nothing else matters to me. Even the stress, I'm not thinking about the situation. I'm just happy to be dancing. I start thinking about the things I should be grateful for. For example, I have my 2 legs and my 2 hands and my good body. Some people are in wheelchair. This positive affirmation, it works. I do a lot of meditation. When I get up in the morning, I'm not in a haste to open my door and stuff. I have to spend like 30, 45 minutes, sometimes 1 hour in my toilet. That's my serene space. Just listening to my music, meditating, being in my Zen atmosphere is very important for me. I've come a long way, and I know the things that triggered me, including adverse childhood experiences, including abuse, domestic abuse in my marriage, including poor choices in life, all of that. So I don't want to be traumatized again. So I also work on my relationships. You know, I don't let social media get on my head, and I don't get into fights on social media. I don't waste my time competing with anybody. For me, that's a useless thing to do. I don't complain. I don't criticize. I'm really like, my serenity is very important. It
So
helps me
yeah,
cope a lot.
so this Afo says that picking up vibes and emotions in around us and having the willpower strength to deal with them positively without losing self is one of the signs of emotional stability. So I think
Exactly. Yeah.
Clementine Brigitte says, do the things you like, start with the little things you like. And then Clementine says, by finding interest, you have to know your self-worth. The only way to do so is doing self-assessment. You know yourself better than anyone else. And Rosemary says, great. Meditation is really good, but not common in our community. Thank you guys, all these people, Margaret, Angeline, Lulu, thank you guys for joining. We are here with Mark. She's a psychotherapist, and we're talking things to do to keep our mental health healthy. What we did in episode 1 was we tried to understand the different emotions that we go through, and what we did with in episode 2 of this series is we talked to somebody to try and understand it from a man's point of view. What are some of the things that the actual situations that trigger this mental health in us? And with Miss Mark, we're talking about how to maintain a good mental health space. So be saying, how far have we moved from stigmatization of mental illnesses in Cameroon?
Excuse me to laugh. I don't know. Seriously, I'm going to find out. I'm going to start doing some real research. But as far as I am concerned, I decided to put myself all out there, so I don't even feel any stigma at all. I don't stigmatize myself. I don't stigmatize nobody, and nobody can stigmatize me. But I know I've worked in La Quintini. I've seen patients come at 5 a.m. because they don't want nobody to see them coming to the psychiatry ward. And then, you know, people not wanting to talk. People reach out to me, but they don't want to join, for example, the support group I have on WhatsApp, you know, because they don't want people to know them and they don't know how they can join anonymously. That for me is stigma. Families with loved ones who are struggling, living with maybe bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, call them, but they're like, it's okay, let's just keep him at home, you know. I don't want people to raise their eyes. But people still talk because people will know. And so when they start whispering, you now feel bad that they're whispering. But for me, it's like, look, this is a book I wrote for my brother, right? He was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. He had epilepsy at the age of 11. You know him. You were classmates, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so my brother's journey from Janus to Simpleton, battling with his mental illness and coping with his loss. I focused on his mental illness. I knew this book was going to kind of like put it all out there and say, okay, nobody should talk about this again because I have already talked about it. So nobody can laugh about it. Nobody can grumble about it. Nobody can, you know, make the family feel ashamed or anything. We had already dealt with that. And I personally decided to put it out this boldly. So it's never a subject for discussion again.
Okay, but Mag, I'm have to get to that, Mag. This is you. This is you. You're a strong person. Obviously, you have a lot of experience with mental health, and so you can protect yourself. But how is the stigmatization for other people? What have you observed in Cameroon? Is this?
That's what I said. It is still so much. It is still so much. It is still so much. When the other day Sankara was saying a man, for example, would find it hard to go and talk to somebody about his challenges, even to their partners, right? I mean, I listened to the battle over opening up and trying to understand what somebody is going through without the person telling you. And I was like, you see how even amongst couple, we have a hard time owning up to our challenges, stuff like that, and being heard. We are stigmatizing ourselves already. And so you can imagine in the society will be the same thing. And that's what I've observed. I've worked with over 200 people in La Quintini, and since then, 2 years, many people, they don't talk, and sometimes they come once and they don't come again. They just feel like, no, she's going to feel so sorry for me. My case is hopeless. Oh, well, it's my village people. Maybe it's really some spiritual attack after all. And, you know, so
let me bring it. Let me ask you a question. Yeah, Bimuma is asking, before I go to Bimuma's questions, if I am feeling, because on this show we've talked about postnatal depression, we've talked about depression generally. We've not really gone in depth, but we've
no
depression. But if I am feeling the signs of depression from everything that we have learned, you're feeling low, you cry all the time, you don't want to talk to somebody, you lock yourself up, your mental space, you just feel like there's a fog in your head. If I'm feeling that and I come to you, talk me through a session, maybe my first session with you. What would you advise me? Because if there's somebody right now in among us watching and has been watching, because obviously we have been trying to identify all these things within each other, and they're telling you, they're sitting there thinking, gosh, I wish I could have a session with just somebody who can help me. Talk me through, what would you advise that person step by step today?
Well, I have different forms. I use different sheets. One thing I have noticed is people love to write when they're not feeling good. And I love to write too. Many of my clients love to write. So I ask you, how do you feel? And I give you a form, because sometimes if you don't direct them, they may just be writing, or they may not even write, and they may be like, what do you want me to write? What do you want me to say? When should I talk about? Today or last week or yesterday? So you have to guide them. Okay, how do you feel? There are a few emotions I put there, like 8 or 10 emotions. You can circle them. You can see, where do you feel what? In the head, in the heart, you know, stuff like that. Why do you feel this way? Yeah.
What are some of those emotions? Like give us a free therapy session one today.
Look, I have a form called client formulation sheet. I have a how do you feel form. I have a stress exploration form. I have a trigger identification form. It depends on what you will bring to me that day and how I will look at you. You know, sometimes you can just look at somebody and know the space in which they find themselves. Look, if somebody is schizophrenic, for example, and they're saying whatever, you cannot even get them to start thinking rationally and start telling you things. So what you want to do at that time is kind of like play along with them until they trust you, and then they calm down, and then maybe they sedate them, and then later on you can start working. So it depends on who comes before you. But let's just say it's somebody who is just ordinarily depressed, like you said, don't call me short, mama, wait. That's what I would do. You will have to help me to help you. You tell me. If you came to me, it's because you need help. So you have to trust me. And if you don't tell me, I cannot help you. You know, so you have to identify those emotions. You have to tell me why you feel that way. And you have to tell me for how long you've been feeling that way. And you have to tell me what you've done since you started feeling that way. And then we are now going to explore together what we can do differently, how we can kind of like assess our progress, and how we can even get other people to understand what we are going through, and how we can even communicate to these people how they can help us. Because people need to understand, people can help. But if people don't understand, they cannot help, you know? Yeah.
Okay, I like that. So also, in other words, if you're sitting at home right now and you have those feelings, the first thing, if you can, is once you get out of that fog, basically get a pen and paper and just try and write down exactly, if you can put it into words, how you feel. That's
even when you're in the fog, right? That is even what we need. That is the material. Look, when the thoughts don't make sense, write them down, because we are going to use that one too.
Yeah. So even when the thoughts don't make sense, write them now. So if you're sitting at home right now and watching this and your head is all foggy and there's so many thoughts, I don't know, from whatever, from the stress of life, from children, from life in general, because this life is not easy. Write those thoughts down. Even when they don't make sense to you, write them down. That's a very good place to start, to begin to get the thoughts from to begin to clear the thought. If you can give a name to the thought, at least one less thought in your head, and so it clears the thoughts, the fog. So write that down. And as Miss Mark said, I like that very much. Then I'll go back now to read what were the questions. He's asking that are there awareness programs or groups? How can we help with this working together? Are there awareness programs for mental health awareness programs?
I joined the WhatsApp group yesterday. I didn't even know that such a group exists, and I've joined another one today. The first one is called Healthy Brain Cameroon, and it is strictly for mental health education. So they've started from like, what is mental health, what is mental illness. I mean, I'm just happy to know that such a group exists. And then the other one is kind of a community of practice, different practitioners, both in Cameroon and abroad. I just joined, so I don't really know the program of the group, but I'm just happy to belong to such. So yeah, I can help, and I can refer people to such groups.
Okay, but are they like main ones in Cameroon? Like, I don't know, like national ones, like big organizations apart from Hope for the Abuse and Battered? Are there other ones like that are prominent in Cameroon?
There should be a few other organizations. I think there's Remedy, an organization by DJ De Masoso. He's a clinical psychologist, so that's the one person I know I've met a few times. His own is called Remedy, and I don't know their website. I don't know all of that. National program, I'll be honest to say no. This is Cameroon now, so there's coronavirus out there now, so priority is coronavirus. So please wait, ask me about it in December. That's what I can say about it.
Indeed. Afua is saying seeking counseling and professional help is a taboo in our community. We need to break that concept. Accepting the fact that we need help and going for it is strength and the first step to healing. And I think that's what everyone has been saying, all of you since last week. We need to seek help. We need to seek help. Yeah, go on.
You know, when I went to Belgium, that is when it was, you know, like when the magnitude of what I was dealing with and all I was carrying along, it came crashing, especially when my brother died. My friend in Belgium, I call him my superhero. He said, you have to go and see a psychiatrist. You have to go and see a psychotherapist. That was in 2014. That was the first time I was even thinking that those things it's okay to do those kind of things. And that was like, my life started turning around in 2013 when I felt bush. And in 2014, when I went to see a psychiatrist and everything. You know, I wrote my first memoir in 2012, published in 2013, the one you talk about, Conventional Loves. That was just writing like whether it made sense or it did not make sense. I just wanted to remove those things from me. And then, but the next ones, it was much more organized and everything. And when I wrote this one, you know, you said I have 7, that's true. What's the worst case scenario? Fighting the fear within, mindful of my mental challenges. You can imagine that I had come to kind of own them, you know, and identify the different things I'm afraid of in my life, and how I can face them and how I'm facing them. Yeah.
So did you do? Is it the psychotherapist that gave you those tools, or you figured all of this out on your own?
Well, you know, you have a lot of tools online too. Once they help you realize your experience and what it is. When I got my diagnosis, I was like, good, post-traumatic. I needed a name all along. I was like, something is not right. So when I got that name, I was able to study, learn about it. That's even what got me to go back, do psychology and everything. I was like, oh yes, it makes sense. Post-traumatic stress. Where has all the stress and the trauma come from? Am I still getting some? How do I avoid future stress and trauma? What do I do if I get stressed or traumatized again? Yeah.
I'm a big believer in therapy because I'm a big believer because seeing a therapist really helped me to make sense of so many things in my brain. So I'm talking as someone who's seen a therapist, who will still see a therapist in the future, and I would always recommend somebody as much as we try to figure these things out by ourselves, it is worth always talking to a professional. I can never recommend that enough because it was so helpful to me personally. And Clementine says, I would first of all do a thorough history using signs, symptoms, when it started, what triggered, how long does it last. With a good history, a good person can start getting some clues. Then next, I'll do a thorough physical assessment and possibly blood work. Okay, you are in the medical field. B has this question which I was thinking about. She says, some people struggle to name their feelings. Describing can be good, right? Do you agree with her?
I do, of course. That and there is the head, and there is the. Can you get me?
Yes. I can hear you. Okay. Hopefully she'll get back on. Hi guys, a few people are joining us. I saw Collie, I saw Mimi, I saw King from Douala, Nora Brown, Ile. Thank you guys so much for joining. We are with Miss Mag, who is joining us, who is a psychotherapist. This word said, they get me confused. Who is a psychotherapist, and she's joining us from Douala. I'm sure she's trying to reconnect but we are our conversation today is centered around how to maintain a positive mental health space. And what she's really been talking about is how to identify it again, putting a name to it. So some of the things she said is, if it is, even if when the fog, I always describe it as the fog, but you know, when you're feeling heavy, you're feeling whatever way you're feeling, you just know that I don't feel right. It is worth getting a piece of paper and putting that down. Bimoma has added, even if you don't have a word. So if you can't say, I'm feeling tired, I'm feeling stressed, I'm feeling nervous, I'm feeling anxious, if you cannot name the emotion, describe the emotion, that would help. So while we wait for her to come, that's really what we're trying to talk about today. And if anybody is right now, as she tries to reconnect, if you've got any other suggestions, just keep giving them, because this past week on mental health, we thought that it would be, it makes sense for us to really to go deep, but not deep, but like a different angle, because we always talk about the big words. Oh, she's depressed. Oh, she's that. But what does that mean when they say somebody is depressed? What does it mean when they say somebody is suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder? What do they mean by when they say this person suffers from panic attacks? Those little things. So we're trying to put a word to them, which we have been able to understand those emotions with Mr. Tani. We've been able to anchor some of those emotions to write down to our colonial past with Mr. Ndoko Sankara, and today with Miss Mag, we're saying, okay, we've identified those. How do we keep that space? So if you have any recommendations while Miss Mag tries to reconnect, just be putting it there. Meanwhile, because I'm sure she's going to come back this time around. This time around, I am very, very sure she's going to come back. So we're just going to while she reconnects, and let's just talk about the different things that we have personally. If anybody wants to share an experience or how they dealt with that. I talk about therapy because I've been to a therapist, and I saw a therapist because I knew, like most of us know, that this the way I feel is not normal. It is not normal. There is something wrong. I'm not crazy. I'm not imagining these things. These things I feel are real. So, and that's why I sought help, and she was able to give me the tools to be able to recognize those emotions in me as they start. When I start feeling anxious, I can trace my thoughts back to say, okay, this is what triggered this emotion, and find something, in my case, music, find music to get me out of that mood and bring me back and center me, you know. So I was able to find those tools. I don't know about you. If you want to share your experience, hey, this is judgment free. So be willing to share. I'm really hoping. Let me give her a call and hopefully just to find out exactly what's going on. You know, when I'm talking to somebody and then they get disconnected, I feel very embarrassed. I feel very embarrassed. So you guys please bear with me, because it just makes me feel like, this is not professional at all. Even though it's not our fault, but it just makes me feel weird. But let me call her. It's time for you to grab a cup of tea and come back, if you don't mind, while I try to get back to Marie. Great. B, thank you. B saying, it is very important to acknowledge that no emotion or feeling is wrong. It's important to name and not judge emotions or feelings. Thank you for that. Thank you, Phoebe. Phoebe says no need to feel embarrassed. What are some of the possible triggers for post-traumatic stress disorder? What are examples of traumatic experiences? If there's anybody want to respond to that, she's okay. The question is up there from King. What are some of the possible triggers for PTSD, and what are examples of traumatic experiences? Anybody got an answer to that? I'm just going to leave it up there while I find out with Marie. It really does. Maybe I give my own experience. So for me personally, well, I don't have PTSD. I think mine was depression. Mine was depression from, it was postnatal depression. That's where mine started from. But B's come to the rescue. B says rape, physical abuse, accidents, etc. as some of the possible triggers for post-traumatic stress disorder. Rape, physical abuse, accidents. Phoebe says near-death experiences. So I think the second part of King's question is what are examples of traumatic experiences? So that lack of sleep, lack of rest, burnout. Brie, are these your examples for post-traumatic stress disorder? But PTSD UK, which is a charity, describes post-traumatic stress disorder as it's essentially a memory feeling error that has been caused by a traumatic event. So something traumatic happened to you, like you were raped, and then something would trigger that memory. So maybe you watch a movie and a woman is being attacked in similar manner that it happened to you. That could trigger that feeling of, like Mr. Tanya said, you get the physical sensations of how you felt when that happened to you. So that is what PTSD is. Be saying emotional abuse, especially severe emotional abuse. And I think, which brings me, let's talk about these guys, emotional abuse. Can we talk about, I don't know what's happening to Marie. I'm calling, she's not picking up. So I'm just hoping, fingers crossed, that she's trying to reconnect. But why she reconnects, because we are almost at 9 o'clock. Let's stay on this emotional abuse, please. Can anybody identify or give us examples of emotional abuse, please? Can somebody give us examples? It will really help. I know quite a lot of you who are here. Should I start calling your names, because I can see you on my screen? Should I start calling your names? Acknowledging and accepting that there is an issue is a huge step towards getting help. A lot of people who go through mental health issues live in denial. Sometimes it's because of the stigma behind it, or they may be thinking that they are too strong to be depressed. This is not a taboo subject and shouldn't be treated as such. It really is. It was taboo for me personally. I didn't even let my mother know that I'd seen a therapist. I was that embarrassed when I had to see one. So it really is taboo. And I think this is one of the reasons I want to talk about these things in the community, because if I felt that way, how many of us are feeling that way and shying away from help because of the fear of stigma? So yeah. So I am really, like Aisha is saying, it is not a taboo subject. It shouldn't be treated as such. We should stop calling people names of people who are strong enough to seek help. Afua says, Goretti, with regards to therapy, I totally agree with you that it's very important. We must learn to seek help. It helps us identify what we're dealing with and going through. Just like you, I recommend therapy any day, anytime. Therapy helped me put my life back together after going through domestic violence and a divorce. Yay, Marie's back.
Something happened to my phone. It's not network. Something happened to my phone and I had to reboot it and then put it back to orange, because yes, MTN has a problem. So we sometimes play with the networks. That's true.
That's great. Thank you for coming back. Okay. So I was just to filling time. I was just talking to the audience and we were talking about, and I asked them a question. Somebody asked a question actually in King Agendia was asking, what is post-traumatic stress disorder and what are some of examples of post-traumatic PTSD and what can trigger it? And B had responded with rape, what was it again? Accident, near-death experience. That was from Phoebe. What else?
Well, abuse as a child, everybody's brain is different. There's somebody they can beat until that person will not feel anything and those memories will not come. Another child it would, and then sometimes it comes and sometimes it doesn't come until years after, and then another experience, it just triggers the flashbacks, everything, and then you cannot cope until you are kind of helped and stuff like that. And anything can happen, like even what is happening in our communities, and then it can just trigger, like all those domestic violence cases, murders and suicides and stuff. It really set me off. And me, I do live all the time. Anyhow I feel, I do a live. That's also a way of me to cope, to just remove things. And sometimes just block off everything. For 3 days, I wasn't really on social media. I just did some spiritual emphasis stuff. That's because I don't want to be traumatized over and over and over again.
You and I were talking behind the scenes a couple of days ago, and you were saying that we had a conversation about code of conduct on social media, because I remember that conversation very vividly because it was very controversial in itself, and so many people had so many strong opinions, which excuse me, I agreed with a lot of it. But you were saying that no, for you disagreed with us. Can you just explain that to them why you did?
Oh well, I mean, I was just saying, especially for me, that I'm an unconventional person anyway. That's on my book, and I just don't want to conform to anything. You can see me dressed up like I'm a serious person today, but I'm just having fun, and I mean, I'm like, this is my off-shoulder hair tie. I put hair, although they were saying, oh, when we go for this white man hair, we are doing away with our. I'm just like, whatever, anything that just makes me feel good in my element, I'm good to go. I don't normally put makeup, but I said, no, I'm going to have fun. I'm going to put the makeup. And my daughter was laughing, saying, you finish and then go and sleep. I said, well, I'm going on a show. So no, when we subject ourselves to a lot of these things, how should I behave? How should a married woman behave? How should a church woman behave? It puts so much pressure on one, and then you are chasing what? Keeping after the what? Joneses, after the what? Mary Magdalene, after, I don't know. So I just don't keep after anything. I refuse. I'm giving myself permission to be as magnetic and magnificent as I can be. As long as I'm good in my head, I'm good to go. Because if I'm not good in my head, I cannot even go, right? Can you be good in your home there with your kids and everything if you're not good in your head?
No.
Yeah.
Okay, so even if you have to come and dance and show your boobs on social media, if that's a coping mechanism for you, cope. We're
If
not
I
going
feel,
to have that
have you
conversation, but
not seen?
we're
Have
talking
you not
about
seen? Have
mental
you
health.
not seen my videos with? I've even taken a picture nude to send a message like, stop blackmailing people with their nudes. What is this whole thing about nude? What is it on a nude that you want to see to the point where you blackmail somebody with their nude? I've done that. Ah, I dance every day. I deliberately don't wear a t-shirt. Even when I start adding the flaps, that's when I want them to show. So people see it and know that, oh, well, those are flaps and so what? Is it your spirit or your body and all of that? It's true that religious people will say it's a temple of God, but man, I think the temple is the real thing inside there. Do good. Some people will wear even the hijab and then, so
Anyway, so in the comments, they are still talking about emotional abuse, and I think that tells me that a lot of women want to talk about it. So let's talk about emotional abuse. Let's focus on that.
yeah.
Brigitte is talking about examples of emotional abuse is insulting, name calling, threats. Auntie Bibi is saying emotional abuse can make you withdraw or have low self-esteem. It's saying examples of emotional abuse are humiliation, negating, criticizing, control, isolation. So all of this on emotional abuse, how do you, who is going through emotional abuse, what would you advise a woman who is going through emotional abuse right now, or a man who is going through emotional abuse right now? What would you, as a therapist, put on your therapist hat, what would you advise them? How would they cope? What steps should they take to be able to save themselves from that?
If I realize that you are still in a space where you can reclaim yourself and separate yourself from that abuse, if somebody insults you, that is on them. You insult Mark today, you know very well that you're wasting your time. So that's not going to get to me. So if you are in that space where you can think it out that way, then you can stay in that abusive situation, separate yourself from it, and even make this person understand that you are worth much more than all what they're trying to get to you with, right? And then there are ways to get people to even stop trying to control you and manipulate you.
How?
Look, people get that power from you. Well, for example, you are a woman, right? Okay. If you are not doing anything, I don't mean something that must bring money, but just anything. Somebody can easily say lazy woman, useless woman, and you feel so terrible because you actually feel guilty, like you are lazy.
Yeah.
You may feel like, yeah, well, I wish I could be doing something, but what stops you from even doing something online, from doing something constructive, not just, but the day you start doing something and you know you are not lazy, if they say lazy, is that going to affect you anymore? And then one day you can tell them, look, when you say I'm lazy, you are saying what I am not, and that gets to me. Can you please stop? Sometimes if we speak to somebody, people will listen, but sometimes we don't. We pray, we stay quiet, we cry. I'm talking about women in particular. I'm a woman, right? And when you do that, the abuser just gets more power now. What is crying to them?
So
What
you
is praying to them?
empower
You
them
empower,
by being weak.
you empower them by being weak. Now empower your own self, and then one day stand up to them in a calm way, in an assertive way. I talk about being assertive without being aggressive. You have to do it.
How do you empower yourself? What are some of the things you say to yourself or do to empower yourself?
Can we keep it real? How have you empowered yourself?
By doing the things that I want to do.
Okay. So there's something somebody can do. I have a staff who does cake, for example, and she said she was once in a relationship, and the guy was like, oh, we have to meet on Sunday afternoon because that's the only time I'm free and everything. And she was like, that's the only time I also have to do all these commands because during the week I'm doing an internship and I can't give it up. And he was like, so if you cannot give up your Sunday afternoons for me, then that's it. And she was like, okay, well, then that should be it. Because, well, she's not going to stop making her cakes. I mean, just at dating level, you want me to stop doing something that empowers me. It's not necessarily for the much money, just to be with you. What about when we get married? Some people even tell their women, stop working, or, you work and you give them the money, or no, you cannot go back to school, whereas they had promised you can go to school. and then and then soon the abuse starts coming, right? The babies start coming, so you cannot go back to school anymore because of the babies now. And so that, like, you see, useless thing, lazy thing, worthless thing, and you really feel like that's what I have become. So you feel really defeated, not only by what they're saying, but by the reality of what you have become.
So that's actually what makes their words hurt more.
That is what makes it hurt more. But if you start to pick yourself up, look, there are a lot of free courses online, right? Even doing live videos like this, most people watch, most people follow. Just do the thing because you love it. Gradually, you learn from those people. You also give strength to people. By the time you finish, that person does not even have that time to. You just fall on the bed and you are sleeping. Whether they're saying what to, and if they touch you, you're like, no, I'm sorry, I'm tired. They start being scared, like, where is this power coming from? Who is this person? Or one day you say, I've had enough. I'm taking a break. And you go away for like 3 days. Look, there's so many tools, so many.
Great tools. Collie says, Marie, moral decadence can be demonstrated by carefree and reckless behavior in public as on social media. Nudity is an embarrassment, not only on your part, but on the onlookers. Let's respect ourselves as women. Collie.
That's her opinion now. Me, I don't go by it, so I don't have no problem.
Okay. And Aisha says, bang on, Marie. I said this in one of Goretti's mental health talks. People certainly express how they feel differently. One can say or do something on social media and others may think they are mad. No, we can talk to that person in the background, but please, please, please do not condemn or judge them in public. Some comments have gone up before Tessie. Tessie says, you're her kind of girl.
My Twinnie.
And Mimi says, that's right, your body, your choice. If it makes you comfortable, do it. Let me go down to King, who was responding to it. King says, because I was asking how we empower ourselves as women. King says, having a vision, dreams, keeping them alive and following through with them. Yeah, you owe that to yourself to follow through to those things. This is actually one of my ways of empowering myself, because I had all these doubts. I've always thought I really wanted to have a conversational show, but who want to hear me? Those kind of things. But then I just thought, if it's putting you, follow through. Whatever the outcome, anything of it will be a plus. And so I agree with you on that, King. If you have a dream, you have a vision, no matter how insignificant you may think it is, just follow through. Because I believe, again, spiritually, if it is putting you, it is because somebody needs it. So
that's how I've ended up with 7 books.
Yeah.
I don't care what the sales are. I'm just so proud. I've written 7 books in 7 years.
Yeah, that's one of my beliefs. If it's put in me, it's because God wants it to impact somebody. So I owe it. It's a duty. I have to put it out there. Anna says, I read lots of self-development books. I have time to myself to reflect, and I also spend time to be grateful for the good things that are going well in my life. I like that. It's that thing of positive thinking, that staying positive.
There was a show you did with somebody, I've forgotten her name. It was really about that. On positive thinking.
Yeah, Mimi is Miss Positive
Thinking. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Mimi Kwepo.
I love that too. Okay.
Yeah. Efwa says, donating everything I had except a car and clothes is the most rewarding and empowering thing I've ever done, and will do it again likely next year. Efwa, come on. What? You donated what? Everything you had? How? Why? How?
I know somebody who did that.
I want to know what was the motivation? Because that's a huge thing to do.
Minimalist. Yeah,
but
what's life about?
I've watched that documentary on minimalist. It was on Netflix a few years ago. But I just think it's not everybody that's called to be a minimalist. Are you?
Yeah, well, it worked with F1. Even with me, I have a certain number of clothes I can have. This is all my wardrobe behind me. There's no more. I don't have suitcases, nothing. Anything above that, no. Any new thing comes and old thing goes out. Sometimes even just go out without anything. I have 5 dresses, 5 shirts, 5. That's my number, 5.
Wow. Mimi says foundation is key and then positivity. So what do you mean foundation?
Foundation.
Like erased or what?
But no. Look, remember when we're talking about foundation of a relationship, for example?
Yeah.
talking about healthy and unhealthy relationships, right?
Yeah.
And I was telling you, if the foundation is not right, then you are heading for disaster. It's like when you are building a house, if the foundation is not right, it's not going to stand for long. It's going to collapse. Even if you can keep fixing and arranging things along the line, it's very good, very important that the foundation be set right. Like you talk to each other about your likes, your dislikes, your strengths, your weaknesses, your love languages, all of that. Talk, set that foundation right. Mhm.
Which brings me to that thing you said about communication styles and crisis management styles.
Mhm. People communicate verbally and non-verbally. People communicate by what? Body language, that's the non-verbal. People communicate by signs. People communicate even by silence. Monks, they communicate by silence, right?
Yeah.
It's not silent treatment like when somebody is angry, they say, I'm not talking to you. No. Somebody may want peace and then they just stay quiet when you are talking. I love those kind of people, because me, I'm the talking person. So when I'm talking sometimes and you're just quiet, well, it helps me to talk quickly, finish, and then think about what I have just said. Because sometimes when you're talking, you may not really be thinking about what you are saying. You just want to let the things out. So you need to know how each of you communicate. There's some people who hang on to something, like family photos and souvenirs, albums. You remember when we were growing up, albums? My son, for example, he had his baby album until the pictures got back. I don't even know all the pictures. Yeah, that album has gone everywhere. I cried when my things were burnt up, for example. For me, it was like expressing loss. People cry to express something. That's a way of communicating. You need to understand how you communicate. And you need to understand how the other person communicates. Sometimes we have crisis because we don't understand that. And because we don't understand it, we keep conflicting, we keep hitting our heads. And before we know it, it's abuse. One person is out and all of that.
Efwa says that, going back on how he says, going through divorce and people fighting on furniture. So I called charity to clear the whole house. There was nothing left to fight for except the kids. Clementine, I like that. She says, empowering herself, believing in yourself. I'm following my passion and people call me crazy. I'm living my happiest life and I'm using this to try to motivate others. Positivity is my thing. I know that so well.
I saw a video of Clementine, a short one. I think they were celebrating their wedding anniversary or I don't know what else. And I was like, wow, look at my girl. I so love that.
Sorrel says, what if getting to know our mission on earth and making it a priority could be the foundation to avoid women getting into this abuse?
This is beautiful, Sorrel. Like, I wish we knew this kind of things growing up, right, Goreti? And we didn't even rush into relationships at the age of 18, getting married, rushing to get married at 21, 23, just to tick some check boxes and celebrate 20, 30 years together. And you never know now. People say na roof the cover house. So you don't know what goes on in that house. I really feel like right now I know my purpose and it's my priority. So any relationship I am in is like, well, yes, after my purpose, my purpose, my God, my children, my family, fit yourself there and walk your way up. That's just me now.
Okay.
So it will be very difficult for me to be abused. Yeah.
So far we've been talking. We've tried to talk on the little things to do to maintain a good mental health space. I just want to know, as my audience, as you're watching, my guests, I hope you're following, and this is logical and it's making sense, because again, it's a conversation we're learning through our shared experiences. But before I go to my next point, let me just read this point, which I'm thinking, Efa says, I learned that we are prisoners to things. It's true.
Of course.
It is true.
Are we not even going to leave all of these things and go? If somebody tells me now they like this dress, I'm giving them anything. Me, I'm so detached from ground cargo.
Some of you are really good at that, detaching yourself.
We got there.
from all my shoes. That one I need divine intervention, but okay. But I understand that, and I really respect people who can do that. But it is not as easy as you who are making it
No,
seem.
it is not. No, it is not, of course.
So I want to, you know, because again, our example has been the couple in the US, and this question Onike is asking: is there any relationship between mental health and criminality?
Aha. Look, it goes both ways. If you're having some distortive, thoughts, your behavior, the way the man was going in America, well, it was easy for him to think the best option is clear it out. Let us lose. Everybody loses. If he did not die, he would have become a criminal, right? The boy in Boyana is a criminal. He has murdered somebody. But who knows his mental state? They may plead insanity, but pleading insanity may just land him in psychiatric ward for life, right? Institutionalized if he was out there. Because if you say you were mentally challenged, a psychiatrist does an evaluation, and everybody says, yeah, he's mentally challenged. Maybe he was suffering from schizophrenia, schizoaffective disorder, anything. Then okay, well, he has become a criminal, no doubt, but he needs to be in a psychiatric ward and not in a prison, for example. So yes, there's a relationship. You can easily misbehave when you are sick. I can break things up. I can say anything to anybody. When I just want my serenity, I want my peace. This boy, for example, in Boya, he wanted to get his pound of flesh. So if that meant stabbing her, stab. Somebody even joked and said he did not intend to die because he stabbed himself, but wherever, whereas he could have stabbed himself in the heart to just die.
So means that he had some mental health challenges that may have gone
on. Indeed. Look, we just don't want to call them by their names. When you have anger management problems, and this guy had, because the relationship was an on and off one, just like the guy in Nigeria had, just like Takam had before he even left Cameroon, he already had.
Our spouses have, or some of our family members
have. We just don't call them by their name. So it's like, well, that's how he is. So when he gets angry, he goes into a rage. I was talking to you about stages of anger, right? Look, even children, when they throw tantrums, you did not give birth to a child and that child started throwing tantrums, did you?
No, they learned.
The child learned that if he throws a tantrum, they will get what they want. And then that throwing tantrum thing becomes like a habit. And then the more they do it, the more they want to do it, because the more they do it, the more they get what they want. And then the more they want to play it out longer. It actually also brings them some satisfaction.
Yes.
Imagine you grow up with that. You're in a relationship, the least thing, bam, you break a table. The next time you break 2 tables. The next time you break the woman's head. The next time you break things in the house. That's how it goes. Are those not mental health challenges, disorders, and stuff like that?
They are. They are. So that's the name to them. So look around to identify these things that Mag is saying. Afua says, I started empowering myself by coming to terms with my reality, accepting and owning my story. Bang. With the strength to ignore the what will people say syndrome. That helped me feel once and find myself. And Afua, I commend you because you are a domestic violence survivor and you took the steps to leave that environment, and which we have to do a series on domestic violence, because so many of our sisters are being emotionally and
physically all.
So many of them are being emotionally and physically abused, and so many of us justify. Mr. Tang was saying something which I disagreed with him. I don't know if he said it on the show, but he was telling me something. He said to me that if a man is abusing his wife, she owes a duty to try to help him first. She should leave.
I cannot help you if I am not in good shape. How can I help you who is abusing me? How can I help you when I'm abused and I'm already in a vulnerable state, in a fragile state? No, me, I help myself first though. I took myself out completely of the country, even altogether. Out.
But did you not try to, and okay, let's divert a bit into domestic
violence. Problem.
And anybody who has experience in that, chip in here. When the abuse started, did you not try to help?
Help who?
The man. You know how you try to save your marriage now. So you try to pacify the man. Maybe if he slapped you the first time, you were like, and he comes crying and say, I didn't mean it was the devil, it was the alcohol, it was you didn't.
My own didn't play out like that. No, honestly, I did not try to help him. I'm very honest, I did not.
Right.
Maybe that's why I left very fast, like 6 years for me. I did not even know that I should be trying to help him. I wanted to help myself because I felt so bad that I got to that stage in my life. I was actually seeing my own responsibility in getting into that kind of situation. And I wanted to take myself out and help myself so I could be strong for my children. The people I needed to help, my children, not the man. Unfortunately, yeah.
So, Mr. Tanya, if you're watching, the women don't agree with you. We don't. This from a psychologist to a therapist. You don't need to help the man. You need to help yourself. You need to be selfish and think about yourself. Tessie says we Cameroonians are leaders of societal abuse. Tessie, break it down. Play with people's psychology by criticizing and deciding for them how they should live their lives, what is acceptable and not acceptable, etc. All of that is societal or community abuse. It is a free world to an extent, and people should live the life that makes them happy, especially if their actions don't intrude in your own life. Life is too short, Marcel. In short, we go all day okay. We go all day okay. Sorel is saying, thanks for sharing this. Fotio, I think you're responding. Positive mindset, knowing self-value is the key. I think he's responding to how to empower yourself there. Sorry, I missed so many comments. Gunkeng says, besides La Quintini and Centre Jamon, what other mental institutions exist in Cameroon? Has there been any research on mental health in Cameroon, and has it been declared a public health emergency?
No, it's not. It has not been declared a public health emergency because, well, it's not priority. It is still starting to be acknowledged, and a lot of private institutions, medical institutions like the Baptist people, that are doing stuff, but since they're not doing it with the government, it's not kind of like, propagated, and you will not see it on billboards like you will see COVID, or you see cancer, or you see all of those things. So yeah, you have La Quintini, you have Jamo, you have the regional hospital in Garoua, that's for public. And then you have a few private ones, and you can go to the Baptists. At least they are in a few places in Cameroon. So they have mental health, community wellness clinics. And then you have associations like ourselves. You have a few professional psychotherapists, psychologists. I know some. So that is it. We are building it up. I mean, we just had the second National Mental Health Day in Cameroon in 2018. Second. So please don't put us too much pressure, I beg.
Lord's favor says it's difficult helping a man when you are in a vulnerable position. If a man shows you love, then you suddenly change. You can think of helping him, but if the abuse starts very early in marriage, sorry, run no. And there's a question, but before we even go to that question, oh gosh, so many things. That's as you guys are saying these things, right? My mind is going, let me talk on that. Let me ask this question. My mind is going all over the place because there's just so much. I really want this session for us ladies to be beneficial and valuable. I'm going to ask you a question quickly. Yeah, I've remembered. Our mothers, right? Who are our mothers now, who are in their 60s, who are in their 70s, who are in their late 50s, who have survived abusive homes, and the lucky ones whose husbands, whose abusers, because it was mainly the men who abused, the lucky ones who are no longer with their abusive partners or whose partners have passed away. I'm sorry if your father was abusive and has passed away, but I'm happy for your mother. What would you advise them now? Because they have lived with that, because that will feel to me like PTSD. They have lived with that for all these years. Where they are now, older women nearing. What are some tips you will give them on how to cope with their PTSD, with their post-traumatic stress disorder, with the trauma that they have experienced all this years. Again, I'm trying to break it down because some of our mothers watch these shows. What are some coping tools that you can give them? This is way past it. Like for yourself, like some of the things you have done. What would you give?
Well, they are free. First of all, they are free now, right?
Yes. Those who
Okay,
are free.
so write it everywhere. I'm free. I remind myself I'm free. I'm freedom. I'm free. I'm free. And when you are free, what can you do? All you want to do. You can do all you want to do. Don't stop. If you want to take dancing and dancing live, 41 doesn't mean nothing to me. 60 should not mean nothing to you. Please dance. If you want to even go out, go. If you want to go to Creepy with one or two girlfriends, go. Do things. Don't bother about what society or your in-laws or all of those. That's what I'm going to tell them. Look, mamas are on their way out now, that age. So there's nothing to complicate there and say maybe you need some medication and stuff like that. If one day you can sleep for 12 hours, sleep. If one day you sleep just 4 hours and you think, well, you cannot really force it, don't force it. Drink hot chocolate. Just pamper yourself. Self-care, best care. That's all I will tell them.
Mommy, so basically, mommy, if you are watching now, so not time for live your life. If you want shack your one man shack. If you want go cook na your arrow, cook, chop. You know, this is your time. If you are picking the talk to no make sense to your head, make them go for corner. Mommy, this rest years of your life, now for you, for enjoying your life. So
Mama.
enjoy your life and be selfish about enjoying your life. Enjoy your life in the way where you know how. That's what my sister is saying, right? Right? This is for our mothers, because a lot of our mothers watch my show, especially on YouTube. And I thank you, mommy, all of you who are watching. Thank you for the prayers. I see your prayers every day and I receive them, and I thank you. You're encouraging me so much. So I appreciate you. Thank you. Yeah, I really wanted our mothers to hear this, because a lot of them have lived through abuse, and Divine says that my dad it has effect on me till today, but I'm grateful for life, especially for my mother. Yeah, which is part of guys. Oh, also Afo, I'm calling you now. Don't say no. Mark, I'm calling you now because we're working again on a series on domestic violence. I am begging survivors to come and have this conversation. There are so many people I know personally, and I have heard people's stories who are being abused, but who have been physically abused, like physically battered, who are putting up a front. And I don't even know, we're talking about emotional, how to keep a healthy mental space. I don't even know what to say to those people right now. But Mark, anybody, what will we say to those women who are currently going through physical abuse, and for some reason they haven't yet found that courage, like Afo, like yourself, to leave? What would you say to them now? How do they maintain their mental health before they go mad in that marriage?
Let me joke with you. I'll tell them to pray. Let me joke. Is that not what they say? Let them pray. Just pray. What else can I say? Seriously, what can I say? Well, the other thing, honestly, is you need intervention. Look, it's for each person to decide. If you want to stay there, and the partner is one who can understand, who can listen to somebody. You know, when Tanya was saying some elder or some community person, you know, people, because we don't want therapy, so we keep going back to community, to elders, to friends. Okay, fine, go there. If they can listen to somebody like that and talk to this person and say, if he doesn't stop, I'm going. If you don't go, you will die now. Have we not seen many cases of women who have died in there? Some have even left and they have been followed and chased down like that woman in America and killed. So it is something like the earlier you can put a stop to it, the better. It is your life at stake, not your reputation, my dear. Okay, when they bury you, would they put a placard there that survived 15 years in marriage? No. And then what? And then what even? What does that placard do? The placard on the grave, what does it do to you? All those things they write there, then what? Let me live my life, I'm gone, I'm free.
Collie says, live or rest in perfect peace. Pack your bag and go before we ride. Rest in peace. See, you guys don't know how dear domestic abuse is to my heart, because I have grown up seeing it from my neighbors, from people that I love, from people that I care about, and I know people who are still who are in their 50s and still with their abusers in the name of I not feel leave my man, and that thing, it gives me nightmares sometimes. So if I'm any takers, I'm ready. Let's have this conversation on domestic abuse, a really structured one, and really give our sisters the tools that they need to be able to leave such situations. King is asking an important question. What about the cycle of abuse? How do you break it? It is common knowledge that the cycle of abuse is a thing. So how do we break it?
Yeah, well, we can have that in that conversation, in that show, right? Let's just stay on this mental health thing, and then we've already gone up for 1 hour 30 minutes, and
you want to sleep
tomorrow, yeah, and then tomorrow is a working day, and
no, I
seriously,
get
when my brain starts to deflect like this, I'm like, nah, I want my bed.
and that's actually a practical tool. That is a practical tool right there. When you know your body, you listen to your body. As your body is tiring out, you know that it is time for Mag to get
Yeah, I had a full day today, and I told myself I'll be on this show maximum 1.5 hours. So that's what I put in my brain. When I have to go out and spend the whole night out, I really work on my brain, and I sleep for like 4 hours during the day, and then I can do that. So it's really something like I have to work a lot on myself. Yeah. Maybe the next show I will work for 2 hours, but today I'm already tired.
No, but I thank you, and I really thank you. No, I know, but just before we go, I just want us to summarize in your own words what we've talked about today.
Well, we've talked about identifying signs of mental health challenges. Because actually, to be well, you need to know the other side, the risks of the other side. Okay, not to be well, but when you are well, it's good to know what can happen. Especially with mental health, we don't even want to fall sick. So when you know the signs, then you can prevent them by doing what? By taking care of yourself. And we shared some practical examples, especially from my life, and then how we can cope in stressful situations, and how we can communicate better, how we can identify challenges. We've talked about all of those things. We've looked at different scenarios. We've used a few examples from the cases that have been going on in our community recently. And I think, well, everybody can write down the lessons they have learned so far, maybe from the 3 episodes and from what has happened. Because for me, when things like that happen, it's for us who are left alive and behind to learn. Shooting stones and blaming is not helping us, because we can sit like that and that kind of thing happens to us too. And we are like, how did it happen? But what did you put in place when those things happen? Did you even learn anything? Did you think intentionally or consciously about it? Did you take any notes down? You know, like I told you in the morning, do your homework.
Yes.
And then share your notes.
Yeah.
How many people do homework? There's something happen, and like, oh my goodness, how could this thing happen to me? Did you learn? Did you know that this thing can happen? That is why we are having this conversation. So I'm like, oh.
See, you are a special guest. Tessie says, Tessie says you are ace. No, you go kill me. Our guest speaker, we don't tire before we. We don't get tired on this show, but then we need to come to an end. No, I just really want to. There are so many comments I haven't read. So after the show, please go back and read the comments. So many people.
I will tomorrow. I will read them. Not after the show. Tomorrow I will. I'll find time and read and write and reply to them. I do appreciate people interacting too. It shows the interest that even if it was a closed subject, people are beginning to open up, and that's very important. Because people who are watching will also think about maybe other people they know who may need help, or they have family people, all of that. So it's very important.
Yes. No, I'm really grateful that you came here to talk about. So, I mean, in summary, she summarized it. I'm going to let you go, Miss Magwell. I'll continue for a short, a short time with the rest.
If you call me Miss again, you pay fine. Because even age-wise, I am not. too big. Yeah, no, it's true. Come on. Look,
I'm
you
not
need to
saying
stop picking
it.
some of these wine man things. It's for what now?
I'm not.
The miss is for what?
Sorry, Mag. Bye bye.
Where everybody take care of yourself now. Don't bother you too much about what society says, all of that. As long as your head is peace, Afua, my sister, all the best, and everybody in here now. And I'm there. I mean, you can contact me. You can find me on the Amazon everywhere. Type Marie Abanga. Write to me on my website. You can send WhatsApp even, and I will just get it directly. So thank you so much for hosting me now. Yeah, let me be that special guest who gets tired before the host says bye bye.
You rock.
Thank you, Quinta. Thank you so much, everybody. I need to go. My day starts sometime at 4 o'clock. That is something you don't know. My brain wakes up at 4.
Yo, you need to rest, Mama. We'll talk after. We'll talk tomorrow. But thank you so much. We appreciate you so much. Thank you.
Okay.
All
Bye
right.
bye. God bless.
I love her. I love how she doesn't mince it. She doesn't. She tells you as it is, and she expresses how it feels. I just really wanted to stay a little bit more because of all the comments. But obviously, we've been here an hour and 35 minutes, and so I'm just going to wrap it up. But I think what I really wanted for this conversation, with Cyril's conversation, Doko Sankara's conversation, I was saying that we will have our day to just talk. And as women, because I know that majority of our audience is women, it is very important that we have these little sessions now for just us to express the things that bother us. And I think that our mental health is so important. I think with these 3 sessions, we've been able to really understand how important it is to keep a positive mindset and a good mental health, mental state. And I cannot stress that enough. I am so grateful how respectful we all are in the comments and how much we are sharing. My goodness, honestly, I don't know, but I owe all man for this. So yeah, one man. But I know I'm really, really, really grateful. And the comments are really, really amazing. Ladies, hands up, who wants us to have a proper series on domestic violence and emotional violence? Because that thing is so dear to my heart. Short of calling names, I know too many people who are putting up a front, but really going through this. And I really think that we need to stop making it taboo and just put it out there so that women or men, because men are being abused in our community, men are being abused, but we can take away that stigma, or at least start because that particular thing it is so devastating when you are close to somebody who is going through that. Your heart breaks every time, and then you're so frustrated because you can't help, or you probably don't need I don't know, you try everything and you can't help. So hands up for anybody who wants us to have that, please. I really want us to talk about it. As Edith is saying, yes, true, especially as we get older and more responsibilities, our mental health is faced with a lot of challenges. It really is, ladies. We need to look after our mental health. We need to look after our mental health. We need to look after our mental health. But there's one thing that I learned from Cyril, which is that we need to be each other's keeper. I don't know if it was him or it was somebody who said that in the comments. We need to be each other's keeper, because sometimes when we are in that fog, I call it the fog. I'm sure by now you can recognize it in whatever words that it applies to you. But when I'm in that fog, just a phone call from somebody or a simple Goretti, how now? How are you? How's your day? How are you? It can get me out of that fog and make me really think about how I am. Just a simple how are you can sometimes reset my brain to think, how are you really, Goretti? And then, so we really, 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 really need to be each other's keeper. What can I say on this show? What can I say, ladies? Thank you. To our mothers, we need to be, I'm going to say this. A lot of our mothers, especially us who are lucky to still have our parents alive, a lot of our parents, father and mother, but especially our mothers, have been through a lot in marriage. they have been through a lot, and majority of them couldn't leave. They couldn't leave. They have dealt with abuse, they've dealt with stigmatization, they've dealt with bullying, they've dealt with countless really traumatizing experiences. They dealt with rape, but we don't know that. We are children, right? We don't know that. And we continue to look at them through the lens of a child. I'm saying this to say, as we are getting older now, we should begin to look at our mothers through the same lens we look at ourselves, through the same struggles that we go through the same fears that we have. If we look at our living parent through that lens, I think that we will be a lot more understanding of some of their decisions, we'll be a lot more tolerant of some of their excesses, and we'll be a lot more patient and loving. It is very important. Our mothers, as I grow older, I look around the women who are around me and I realize, wow, these women have been through a lot. And so let us be kinder. Let us be kinder, especially to our mothers, especially to those of us or our aunties, mother figures in your life, the aunties, the women around you, because before they got to that point, they've been through a lot mentally. And on that note, we're back on Friday with 13-14, since they say I should call people the names they want to be called. 13-14, he's on Facebook as 13-14, and he's very outspoken, a very outspoken young man, and he's really going to come and just round all of this whole series up. He has so much to say. It's a wealth of experience, and he says it as it is. That's another thing I really admired about him, and that's why I wanted him on the show. And this time around, he's somebody that if you can punch him, he'll take it and he'll give us. So all these questions, it's going to be a lot more of a question answer session. So all those questions that we've wanted to ask men about things that don't make sense to us, that our men don't answer, and that we have trouble understanding, get those questions ready. Let's bombard Trace so that he gives us all those responses. He's going to be our punching bag. So let's come ready to punch so that by punching him, metaphorically, he will give us those answers that we need. Ladies, I love you. Gentlemen who have been watching today, I thank you, and we'll see you on Friday. And don't forget to like our YouTube page, subscribe to our YouTube page, and like the Goretti Experience page on Facebook. So like my page, please go and like. Don't just follow, like. I need all your likes. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful, wonderful evening. Oh, it says 41. Ding, let me touch my nose. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Clara. Thank you very much. Such a profound final comment from you. We really need to be more tolerant with the women in our lives, especially our mothers. I believe that. So thank you very much, and I'll see you guys on Friday. Please come Friday 8 p.m. We're here. See you. Have a lovely evening. Thank you.